Okay, so Nancy wanted me to come talk about support systems. And not everybody in this room is married. And so support systems can mean a couple of different things. It can mean your spouse. If you're still younger, and we've got a lot of younger people in this now, so it might be your family or it may be a friend of yours that kind of helps support. I just want you to kind of be able to define that a different way on what support means, because the idea is, and this is a question I commonly get at these types of events, is about, I wish I had a little bit more support here or there, and everybody thinks that I'm tremendously good at supporting Nancy, which is really easy to do because about all of her ideas are good, so it's, easy to jump into that, right? In fact, I took it to a new level here of late when she was talking about this gluten allergy she's been having, this wheat thing, and I've got a cast iron stomach, so I don't have any issues with that at all. But she started into this, and when she did a lot of research on some really neat recipes. And she would create some of these delicacies in our home that would draw me into the kitchen. I would smell those. I could taste them before I got there. I'm talking good stuff, right? So I'm like, since you're launching out on this journey, I'm going to participate with you on eating some of this delightful gluten-free work you're putting in here, right? And she's like, this is all I can eat. You can eat anything. So I'm making this stuff for me. This is my stuff. And I'm like, well, I want to be supportive, so how about I go gluten-free as well? And and she knows me, well enough to know that I was only doing that so I could eat what she was creating, right? So I was telling everybody that I was gluten-free, but everybody could kind of figure out that I wasn't because I could turn it on and off again. So then I started using the term gluten-reduced, okay? So I'm living a gluten-reduced lifestyle, which is essentially code that I can eat whatever I want, but then when Nancy makes something that's gluten-free that only gluten-free people in our house are allowed to eat, then I do that, okay? So not the real kind of support she was looking for. So anyway, so I kind of take it to that level. But most of my best thinking's been done by others. Okay, I've had very few original ideas in my life, but I'm really good at collecting the ideas of other people and putting them together and communicating them in a way that helps everybody else. So I went and interviewed some industry experts of late on this idea of a support system, okay? And because when somebody says that, it can mean so many different things. The dictionary definition of support is to bear all or part of the weight. That's support. To bear all or part of the weight. Well, that part can be very varying, I guess, several different levels of that. So I interviewed a couple that's with another direct sales company that's been extremely successful, and they work the business together somewhat. And then I've talked to some of our best people and others and did some research. And so what I've learned is there's essentially 5 different levels of support that you could receive either from your spouse, from your family, from a friend. And as I go through these, I want you to listen. And I'm not really good on the definitions yet. I'm still kind of working on it. And so when you hear one that says, that sounds like the level of support I get, I'm going to give you an opportunity to weigh in, because I'm a numbers guy. So I'm curious, you guys are being part of my little statistical sample here. I'm curious where everybody falls that's in this room on these levels of support that you're receiving, okay? So level 1, this is the first one, is called not negative. That's the best I could come up with to describe what level 1 is, okay? Not negative means it includes that they participate in the parenting duties, okay? We don't call this watching the kids because, somebody's always got to watch them, I guess. When Nancy and I, early on, when she would go do stuff, she's like, hey, you're the parent tonight. I didn't realize that meant watch the kids. So I was always there, but, I kind of let them do their own thing, teaching them self-reliance, as I called it. But anyway, not negative means includes parenting duties, housekeeping, anything that you would do if your spouse or whoever it is you're trying to support is gone to work or at an entertaining event. Because if they're out doing a show, they are at work, which is also an entertaining event, right? So any one of those, you may not be necessarily encouraging anything, but you're not discouraging from that. I mean, when I get up and I get ready to go to work, Nancy says, gosh, I wish you wouldn't go to work today. She gives me a round of applause when I leave. Thanks for going and doing something. She does. And sometimes she gets the kids to do it. I know it sounds weird, but it is true that she does this, okay? So that's the not negative part of it, okay? So how many in this room, and if you think that your support system's better than just not negative, then don't raise your hand. But if you think that's you, raise your hand, okay? Okay. Now, level 2 is called somewhat positive. I know I'm digging low here, but there's people that this is them. Okay, so somewhat positive means when they get back from a party or an event, you can ask how it went, but you can't ask if they made any money. Okay. A couple of reasons for that is, number one, if they didn't make any money, they don't want to talk about it. And number two, you can never really know the results of that event until, maybe sometimes years down the road, because you may affect one person that in 30 days comes back to you and says, I want to sign up, and they go off and they take off and they make you a ton of money. And that ain't wrong, okay? But you never know, like right then, how much is made. So this one, you can ask if you had fun, but not if you made money. And they'll encourage you to get out there, okay? That's the somewhat positive. If maybe you used to hit a show or two a week and then you haven't, this person may say, you haven't gone out and done this, and I know you enjoy it, and it kind of benefits us a little bit, so go get them, Tiger, nothing wrong with that. So that's the somewhat positive. So who would fall into level 2? Okay? Few more hands in there. Okay. The third level is the advocate, okay? They're advocating the business to people. My definition I wrote down, they're selling some products at work, maybe attending some meetings, and maybe help out at a vendor event. Maybe if they talk to somebody they work with and their spouse is around, they talk about, their wife's business, and hey, your wife may want to come check this out, or your friend might want to. They somewhat advocate it. I've got a guy that I work with that his wife sells these Mishi bags. Okay, is it wrong for me to say another company? Okay, well, I know you love Mishi bags because I give you a bunch of them because of this guy. All right, so he shows up to my office, and this is just a good old country boy. He's not eloquent at all. Okay, but he shows up, and he's like, "Hey, Ron, my wife sells these bags. They don't suck." I don't know, maybe your wife would want one. She made me bring you this, and throws it on my desk. And, if you need something for like an anniversary or something, just let me know. And she'll just take care of it. Just let me know, okay? And so every once in a while, he's in my office a lot during the weeks, but every once in a while he comes by and he's like, she sent me with another one, here you go. And he'll do that. I've ordered I don't know how many from him, and because it's easy. 10. Nancy just said it. 10. Because an event will come up, I'll say, hey, Nancy, John was in my office again. Which color you want this time? Oh, I'd really love one of these. And then he takes it and goes to her and brings it sitting there in my chair when I get into work. How easy is that? Okay? So that's a level 3. Now, they may not be your best salesperson, but they do advocate a little bit. And they can talk the language with the guys at work. And I do that some. They'll talk about something going on. I'm like, well, my wife's got some stuff you can put on that and make it go away. And, we don't know. We don't know what you guys know, but we sell some stuff, okay? So that's the advocate. We even at one time, this was back when it was Country Bunny, but a bunch of us guys had some towels that we put on our golf bags that said, our wives paid for our round of golf. And it had the business logo. Okay, that's not causing a problem. But that is somewhat advocating, hey, I'm married to somebody that's going out and doing something pretty cool, and I'm getting to reciprocate from that. That's not terrible. Or as John would say, that don't suck, So anyway, how many people fall into level 3? Okay, more hands are going up. I can see a pattern here. And the guys, if you're here, remember I said level 3, probably attending some meetings. That means that's you, okay? You're probably level 3 or level 4. Oh, pat him right there on the, yeah, that's cool. Okay, so number 4 is partnering. Okay, number 4 is partnering. That means they'll place some orders. They'll just do what they can. In this couple I interviewed, her husband actually answers some questions that the downline may have. Okay, because he's connected to her and she's kind of busy because this is, pretty well what they do. This supports their family. And so she'll have stuff going on and they'll call in about a new promotion or something that's happening. And so he'll field a lot of that. And what's great about guys is what it might take some consultants 10 to 15 minutes to answer a question. You guys are getting ahead of me. He can do in about a minute, right? So he can handle 15 of those questions while she's handling one. The question's still getting answered. It's just that other stuff that happens in the meantime. No, but that's okay. That doesn't have to happen every time, right? So he'll do that. He's grabbed her phone and answered text message. They think it's her. That's not wrong. He's got the right answer when he's answering it, right? Okay, so that's partnering. They'll do some things. It really depends on what their gifts are. Okay, and that partnering, if it's some dude that likes sitting down on the computer and placing the orders or doing things like that, that's okay. They may not be the bubbly, extroverted person that you want to take to a vendor event, but in some marriages they are. In this particular marriage, the lady's probably a little more reserved and calculated, and this guy, he's like not. He's like out there, and so people love him, So that's the way that works. So how many people would say with their spouse they're at the partner level? Number 4. Okay. She's holding up his hand. That's great. I love it. So we've got some of those. All right. So, and the partnering level is probably the ultimate definition of bearing some or all the weight, right? So they've kind of elevated to that. Now, if you're at a level 1 or 2 with your support system, that's not bad, okay? And you may live your entire career and your existence just at that level, and that's okay, because if they're level 1, 2, 3, or 4, then that's better than being level -1. And we know who -1 is, right? And that has multiple meanings, -1. We're talking about that last. Okay? And so that is the person that's trying to tear down everything you're trying to build. Okay? For some odd reason, you've got a party scheduled, and they'll go let the air out of your tires so you don't have to do it. Okay? Now, there's probably not a lot at that level, and I could have a lot of fun with this whole negative thing, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to let you know that -1 exists, okay? Because we've got 5 levels, and that is one of them. And you've got people in your downline, unfortunately, that may be partnered with a -1, and that's sad, okay? There's really not a whole lot you can do. I've got a list of 5 things you can try to maybe move somebody from a -1 to a level 1, or if somebody's at a level 1 to move them up to a level 2. They're not guaranteed, but they've worked a little bit in my life, and I've seen them work in some other people's lives, so we'll go through those. But first of all, real quick, to establish why somebody will land at one of those levels, there's probably 2 reasons that they land anywhere on that continuum. Okay, and the first one will be the quality of the marriage, if they're married. If they're family, it's the level of trust that they may have, okay? And you can't really go in and fix somebody's marriage from the position you're in, okay? Now, if you're in one of those tough positions, I got a whole nother talk we can go over about that, all right? We don't have time to do it today, but as Nancy and I, we tell this, we've been married 25 years this year, okay? The way we officially say it is we've been legally married 25 years, but happily married 17. Okay? Yeah. And fortunately, the happy ones were the most recent 17, right? That first 7 or 8, it was tough. Okay? The thing about Nancy, though, is she never one time considered divorce, ever. Okay? She considered murder twice. And if she could figure out what to do with the body, I think it would have happened, okay? So it's the quality of marriage. The second element that will determine where somebody lands is probably past history, in that they may have a great marriage, but if somebody has tried and not succeeded at several different businesses or ideas or just whatever, they may go, oh, it's another one of those, right? And so that might determine, and you can't do anything. As I tell people, my Microsoft Outlook won't let me go back in time and fix stuff, okay? All I can work with is what I can do from here on, right? So I've got 5 quick ideas that I'm going to throw at you real quick, and maybe this will help, okay? Idea number one for fixing or raising somebody's level is don't complain, okay? Don't complain about wherever they're at, because that's hard to repair later on. An example that's used is if you were ever bullied when you're in kindergarten, or if you had a kid that got bullied by another kid, they may grow out of that later, but you never forget that, okay? You never really trust or forget what happened there. So if somebody's at a level and you wish they were higher than that, if you've complained about it, stop it, okay? Repent of that, apologize for it, and get past it. That will not help you, so don't complain. Number two is be supportive of their interests, okay? Be supportive of their interests. I used to do a lot of crazy stuff. Nancy can tell you, even before I started doing this extreme trail running and adrenaline junkie kind of stuff, I used to go fishing up in Alaska. I used to go hunting all over around and do all kinds of things. And Nancy was extremely supportive of that, except for one time I was in a trip in Alaska, and I think she had just had Zachary or was pregnant with Zachary. I can't remember which, but she had two kids that weren't happy at the time, and I was a long way away. Okay, that was the one moment she wasn't very supportive, and in retrospect, shouldn't have been. You know, I was doing something I shouldn't have been doing, okay? But if you want to kind of prime that pump for them to support what you're doing, be supportive of their activities, okay? And that'll help that. Number three is be specific about what you need in the area of support. Caveat, when they ask, okay? If you try to be specific about what you need before they ask, it's probably not going to be very effective. But if you support them well enough, at some point, we hope you've sown some seeds of hope that they'll say, well, is there anything I can do? And then be specific and don't make it a big deal, okay? You might say the one specific thing you can do is to stop complaining about me going and working this business, okay? Just stop complaining about it. And that moves them from a -1 to a 1, right? So that would be okay. The fourth is, this is going to sound simple, but acknowledge every little victory, every little thing they do. Glory, just amen me. That's when I know I'm getting somewhere, okay? I mean, it may be small. It may be, you know, that, hey, I got to go do this, and you didn't say one negative thing about it. Way to go. High fives aren't bad amongst married peoples or you know, support systems. That's okay. But you shine a light and kind of ignore the bad, okay? When you're in this process of trying to build somebody up, just focus on the positive. If they mess something up, just let that go, all right? Focus on the positive. And then number 5, and this is the best thing you can do for helping your support system to be there for you, to raise that level. Are you ready for this? Be successful. If you are successful in this business, you will erase any doubt that they have, okay? I've got several people that are now way up. Tammy's one of them. As soon as she was successful, Les was right on board. Until she was successful, he was not. No. I mean, he wasn't a -1, but he sure wasn't where he is now. But the day she knocked it out of the park and won Queen of the Bath and First Cruise, it was over for him. He was sold out for good, okay? So you got to go out and be successful and not let not having the right support system be your excuse for not being successful. That doesn't work. As Nancy said, you've got this entire corporate structure behind you. You've got the same products, the same programs that everybody else is successful has. And if you're not being successful, the only thing in common with that is you. So go out and be successful. It's okay to tell your support system that I'm going to have to sprint for a while here, okay? This is a season of life, not a way of life. I've got to get this thing off the ground. I'm going to have to go at it harder. I've got to go live like nobody else so someday we can live like nobody else, okay? So this is going to happen. So this is going to happen for a little bit, but just know it's not forever. Okay? And that will help them out. If they think this is the way we're going to have to live the rest of our life, they're going to reject it. Okay? So let them off the hook with that a little bit.